Thank you so much for tuning in to your very own Try It Before You Buy It channel with your host Karamullah Kadwani. Today we are going to talk heart to heart about classic vintage fragrances and if they are and why they are not as good as modern day fragrances or vice versa, and the differences in between them. So before we get started though, if this is the kind of the content you like watching, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel, as the channel and I are still in the very infant stages, trying to bring to you my overviews, price points and alternatives where possible. I have noticed that more than 80% of my viewers aren't subscribers yet. Watching the ads, commenting helps the algorithm and helps my channel in the long run, inshallah, as we pay full retail, as we mentioned time and time before. I am not on the free bottles brigade and don't have any other means of acquiring these fragrances. So let's get into it. Today is a heart-to-heart chat about something I really ponder upon at times as a fragrance connoisseur, and this needs to be addressed, as I'm sure a lot of you out there keep thinking over and over about it too. Major differences that I see nowadays: you have a new house pop up like a grocery store, Bakkala, Emirati reference for grocery store, or Garashi, as the Farsi Persian part of the public would refer to it as. Not in a very good way though. Ultimate goal for even the larger groups eating up the greats of the past. A few names I can think of: the LVMH group, there's Puig, and other conglomerates, the bigger ones, the larger conglomerates. The end thing that this is soaring profits, releasing heavy, sweet, edible, amber woody beasts without much contrast, character lacking depth and complexity as would in the older days. I remember people from the past, including my father and my grandfather, has had a signature scent they've worn throughout their lives, with which I can see a scent association that you would also notice with the earlier generation when it comes to our fathers, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, maybe aunts. By no means am I saying that they didn't have any other scents, but just this maybe 1, 2 or even at max 3 for life. Taking into consideration the video I've done on the house overview for Amwaj and the number of fragrances I own from just that house alone speaks a lot, right? For the fragrance connoisseur today. Can I really say I have a signature scent? Maybe a couple of years ago, where I did Tuscan leather, or rather overdid Tuscan leather and got and probably retired within a year or two using Tuscan leather, and discovered Tobacco Vanille, which I then fall in love with, continued for a year or two till I discovered Creed Aventus, suggested to me by one of the reps at the retailers. I fall in love with that. I think it had real ambergris, it had depth. It did have a character. I wouldn't want to take anything away from these fragrances. Royal Oud, and then Spice and Wood, less exclusive even from the House of Creed. I mean, it just kept changing ever so constantly. Clive Christian C, Clive Christian X, and the saga went on. Getting back to the topic for the day, let's just start by asking ourselves this question: why did our elders not have these enormous library of fragrances? Why did just maybe let at the most 1, 2, even 3 fragrances define them? Why? Well, let's take a step into the past and see the major differences where master perfumers would take 10, 20, even sometimes 30 years to create and come out with a release like a composition, where they weren't treated as they're unfortunately treated nowadays, and profit seems to be the end all be all. Fragrances of the past weren't ruined further by IFRA regulations, as they didn't have any bounds on the notes. They'd use the quantity. Say for example, they could use oak moss in abundance, maybe animal musks, other animalics such as civet, castoreum, hyraceum or hyrax, ambergris, and so on and so forth. Take a vintage fragrance. Here I'm kind of taking another approach to the one I presented on this channel mostly. But truth be told, you need to experience these legends to see where you're actually heading to in your fragrance journey. Is this the olfactory experience worth the dollar we're spending on these bigger businesses? That's a question that really needs to be asked. The price differences. So I keep watching reviewers, right? And a reviewer that I really like watching is Ramsey, the Ram. Shout out to him. He's one of the greatest reviewers I see. His in-depth knowledge. I want to create a t-shirt saying I don't need fragrantica.com, I have Ramsey. But yeah, having said that, so that got me pondering into, and I really do want to get into vintages in a way. So the question that needs to be asked that I was referring to is the price differences, the markups. It's ridiculous what we are paying for acquiring these fragrances nowadays, and why it wasn't like this in the past. Well, yes, things have got expensive, supply chain issues, but not as expensive as the price tags another blue fragrance or flanker deserves. Materials are harder to come by. Even the bigger ingredients and flavoring houses don't want to get their hands into dealing with materials which are hard to come by, difficult to source, and even harder to sell in huge quantities, earning them the big moolah. So, I was watching, as I mentioned, Ramsey's video the other day, part 2 of the Liz Moore's interview, last night actually. And the launch of a newest fragrance, Epona, dedicated to her horse, sadly expired. Congratulations to the both of them. Congratulations to Ramsey for the cloud he's gained. I mean, he deserves it. He truly deserves it. All the number of subscribers he's got now, alhamdulillah. And it's his hard work, dedication, and deep knowledge of the perfumes of the past, and keeping up to date with the perfumes of the present, and lots more to come, inshallah. I so would love to acquire all the fragrances from the house of Papillon Artisan perfumes, Liz Moore's brand. To name a few that come off my mind: Anubis, Salome. That's the one I remember when doing this video actually, and that's kind of, I think, where this idea initiated, and I wanted to do this video and bring this content to you. She's not sure if she's going to be able to continue with this fragrance, Salome, which we refer to. It's referred to as a more beastly version, if you would, of a legend of the past. Michael Jackson's signature fragrance, Bala Versailles, from Jean Desperes. She's not sure if she's going to be able to continue with Salome. As she mentioned, Firminish, from whom she sourced Hyraceum from, and was willing even to buy off a barrel of them, off of them. But they went cold turkey on her. They didn't have any, as not many of these bigger enterprises would buy to create perfumes, but Salome had this kind of hyraceum which she just wasn't able to source, as sources sometimes can determine whether you can or can't create the same perfume. Their proprietary ingredients, though, I guess Akigala would like ingredients which they'll never run out of. Synthetics, sensory overload galore, if you may. as all the perfumers working with them are given targets or maybe even forced to use these ingredients and make sure they're keeping them rich. Having said that, Liz Moores has finally found a source and will try her hands with this high resin that she's able to source in a much smaller batch and see if she can actually maintain or achieve the same nuances she was able to with the previous material. I really wish Liz Moores the best with that. I hope she does. I really hope she does. So different sources, I'm guessing, let's deviate a little and then we'll come back to the topic and everything. So different sources, I'm guessing, may be even different extraction processes, part of the world it's sourced from, region. I'm not referring to these naturals, be it animalics, oud, or otherwise. Different regions, climates, etc., altitudes can have a direct effect on the scent profile, facets, nuances on the end product. That's the beauty about naturals. Also, a plus point is if it works well for Liz Moores, we will be able to enjoy the very same Salome that we enjoy today for some years to come, and then maybe not. Also, another good news that I see with naturals, with animalics, are that they're not volatile and won't go bad. On the contrary, they might even get better over time. And the thing I can vouch for is Civet de Nuit, the one that you see rotating on the platform today, which I will try to bring you a review of. I have this in my possession for over 2 or 3 years now, and I had a few wearing experiences. I treasure my Civet de Nuit, but the reason why I've kept this on the rotating table is so that I can come back to vouch for that claim, is that Civet de Nuit has many aged authentic naturals, including a 40-year-old Civet tincture maybe, or Civet, which was stored away for 40 years, and the smell profile for this one is so profound and out of world like. As usual, we deviated from today's discussion. Maybe not. This was something that I really needed to get off my chest. So today, cheap synthetics, amber woods, loads of amber woods, loud AF fragrances with cheap smelling like dry downs. And so perfume companies are able to just add flankers upon flankers upon flankers, or just another blue or synthetic heavy release, completely ignoring what the dry down is like. Say most of us smell a perfume and decide on the spot if we like it or not. But the real best way to do it is, as Ramsey says, try to acquire 2.5, even a 3 ml sample and wear it for a day. Even 6 to 8 hours would suffice to tell you if the fragrance is worth its asking price. Some perfumes may give you an experience you've never had before, more associated with the niche artisan houses like Riche Ladore, which this perfume is from, Civet de Nuit, and Sarod, although their fragrances are, over the top. Their prices are not ridiculous, but then yes, all these naturals and all these limited run editions and the pain they had to go through, all the extraction processes, all the places these are sourced from, maybe even something like Oud Taiwan from the house of Riche Ladore, which sold off in like 10 minutes of its launch. These even the more experienced, more into oud frag heads and have not yet experienced. And for Riche Ladore, I can speak. For Russian Adam, I suppose he's referred to as the owner of the brand, and he does his own tinctures, and he used to extract oud and distill oud earlier, and now he's into like creating these masterpieces. Hadn't smelled oud from Taiwan, and was first for him. So the prices actually justify. Even high price tags would justify, and that's where Ansar Oud is at. It's at the higher price point. You have the fragrances for 30 mils, 50 mils for about 1,500 USD. 3,500 USD, even going up. But then you're paying what I mean. You're paying what you're getting for, right? It's justified, I think, in a way. So as I was saying, Ansarud, I've yet to try Abdus Salam Attars, but soon, inshallah. Inshallah. And I'll give you my overview of that. I don't like renting on houses, as I've maybe mentioned earlier. If I haven't mentioned earlier, I would like to say it now. I don't like bashing on houses. If there's a fragrance I don't like, I try not to discuss it on the channel. I keep hush about it, right? But although I don't like renting on houses, I would like to mention that I ordered a few fragrances, and up till the 2020 batch of Botnikov, I heard a lot of good things about them, and that's what got me into Botnikov. And everything that I've ordered up till 2020 was on point. I wasn't disappointed. I've ordered some present day just a few days ago, and a few of them were like reorders of the bottles of perfumes that I was running out of. And just to say the least, I've done head-to-head comparisons on either hands of the same perfume. The quality, depth and smell profile has really gone down the drain. I don't know what others have to say about it. This is just my humble opinion. My nose, hence wouldn't like recommending them, but Arige L'Odore is love. I think met them at one of the beauty exhibitions at the Dubai World Trade Center, and immediately fall in love with their thought process and where they see the brand or where they're taking the brand. I really do appreciate them. I really want to get my hands on Curatus and Royal Barn, especially the way Ramsey talks about them mesmerizes me. Inshallah, soon. Inshallah. Getting back on track, I guess the earlier generations had a signature scent, as you mentioned, because maybe there wasn't any internet or social media, and so brands weren't really pushing all these fragrances down your throat, right? 100 releases a year. I mean, it's crazy what's happening nowadays. And so brands couldn't really overhype fragrances. You had limited access to what you had access to. Besides that, with the dry down and materials used in perfumeries of the past, I'd say are just irreplaceable. Yet also the price hikes, point I forgot to mention with the price tags that are associated with these fragrances nowadays, could be contributed to the massive kind of advertisements and these free bottles that they send over to these perfume reviewers who, well, they gave away to these to hype their fragrances would cost them a fortune, I'm sure. So they're forced to increase the prices on these perfumes to like a no-go zone for a person like me. Maybe not the way I'd like to see it, or I've kind of re-evaluated where I stand at in my fragrance journey. I've watched people like Ramsey talk, and there's not much I can say. I agree with what Ramsey has to say, and he's influenced this video, if I may, his Liz Moore's interview part 2. He's always got me thinking, pondering upon it, but I didn't want to actually. Anyways, again, having said that, sometimes we justify the higher price tags by saying it's a Roja, a perfumes, fragrance du bois or Zerjoff, or whatever the heck other brands are. Either which ways, I'd like to clear the air, and I would like to reassure you my love for the House of Roja. I do love it. I still try to justify the prices Roja has on these fragrances. I love the perfumes. I'm not taking anything away from those perfumes. It's just vintage Guerlain Shalimar, Heritage, Hermes Bellamy, Cure de Russie by Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent, Kouros and Théis, Jean Desperez, as we earlier mentioned, Bella Versailles. Heck, even the ambers had animalic-like facets back in the day, with the heavy-handed use of animalics or materials like labdanum, Pissy civet, extract, etc. I guess we shall learn, but I don't think anything will replace the aura of the past perfumery. where they take the necessary time to create a perfume and focus on all facets and parts of perfumery, from the opening right till the curtains fall down, the dry down as we call it, and everything in between, as it did transition like a true symphony, note for note. The bright light at the end of this dark tunnel is that niche artisan fragrance houses like Riche Ladore and Saroud, or for a fact Abdus Salam Attars, who use only naturals in this era and are actually doing a service to the true fragrance connoisseurs. Do let me know your thoughts, do share your experiences, and don't forget to comment. Feel free to ask me any questions and I'll answer them to the best of my capability. Until the next time, your host Karamullah Kadwani signing out.